Alright, is that a continuity test or Morse code? Welcome back to the sauna garage. Today, we're going to remake a good chunk of this wiring harness. This portion of the project is not particularly interesting. Here's the chunk of the harness that came off the fender on that little junction block. Got this destroyed piece of wiring from the foot switch that goes to the headlights. Thought this would be a good little project to knock out while I'm at it, before it gets up to about 150 out there. Given that this is very basic, mundane, and boring, I figured I'd just time-lapse it. Guys, this little piece of technology here was the most difficult thing to get out. This is the high beam telltale light, and I'm still trying to figure it out. One way or another, this thing has got to get rewired, but getting it apart is another thing entirely. I don't quite... Oh. Maybe it unscrews. Once again, with a proper application of PB Blaster and the wire wheel, this thing just about spins freely. So, I still haven't quite found the answer on the internet, but I think this thing just pops apart. That was easier than expected. Just rock it back and forth, and for your benefit, that's what it looks like. Just that little set of clamps of some, I can't remember the exact name for these, but they just clip together and come off. There's your telltale light. That's all it really is. I didn't even have to pull this thing off the dash. I could have just left that right where it was, but at least it's clean. Well, the lamp in this looks like a number 57. At the very least, it has an an SM9 base. Time to go back to the CJ2A forum again and find out what this thing is supposed to be, because the filament does not look to be intact. I'll bet this was a 6 volt, and when they converted to 12 volt, it blew. I have a bulb that'll fit, but I don't think it'll fit under here. Actually, it might fit. This might be something that just solves itself. I'm sure there's easier ways to do this than taking the original little nub of a contact with about that much original wire and soldering it together, but I don't have a spare contact. I'm sure I can go buy 100 of them. But I'm just gonna solder it and heat shrink it and call it good. So here's what happens when you let yourself get distracted. I forgot to put the entire socket back on here before crimping down all the connections, so one quick spade connector and we're back in business. Continuing the harness dissection. We're getting close. The bonus brake light connector's off. So over here, for some reason, on the tail light, there's actually there's a dash and a tail on here. And for reasons unknown to me, though I'm sure it makes logical sense once I figure it out, the dash light connector, which, just for anyone who might not know and might want to replace this wire, it does just pull right through. Don't breathe that dust. But for some reason that was tied into the tail lights. And I guess that makes sense. If you turn the lights on, you want the dash light on with the tails, but this switch has one specifically marked for the dash light. I don't get why that is, or why it would. Well, logically it makes sense, at least for the dash light. But the other connector here for the dash, what was connected onto that was this one over here. This meandering wire here is actually the same as this one that's been hanging out down here for a while. And this went to the fuel sending unit. So it's like the guy didn't care how much gas he had, but if you wanted to check the gas, you'd have to turn the lights on. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Why wouldn't you have it on something that's always on, unless you had some kind of battery drain problem and you didn't want to waste the power? I don't know. As far as what's left, this contact is labeled battery. So I've got two, right there. That's my problem. That's what was shorting out somewhere. This is just bare wire. This is awesome. But one of these has to go to the ammeter. I'm pretty sure it's this one on the right. This other one I'm gonna have to figure out real quick, but one thing at a time. Also, I guess while I was pulling, the brake light came off. The actual original brake light cable, I think it was actually on the brake post, so hey, at least something was right. But let's go swap out this wire for the dash light. Alright, there's one dash light switch. Starting to look like I've got a harness to install. And at long last, the light switch. Yep, it's pretty dirty, but we'll wire wheel it up, clean it up, test some continuity, and probably put it right back into service. Well, that cleaned up okay. 2-position switch, feels like. Now begins the testing. Alright, is that a continuity test or Morse code? Obviously, I've got a little bit more cleaning to do on these contacts. Position 1 turns on the dash and tail lights, but not the headlights or parking lights. Position 2 turns on the headlights, dash and tail are still on. However, I get nothing on the parking lights. That's interesting. Nothing in position 1. Nothing in position 2. Looks like I may have a bad headlight switch. Well, that's a neat little design. On, middle, off, I guess. That could use a little bit of cleaning on the inside. Bounces along on top of this. These contacts are good. But when we get to the insides of it, I wonder which ones aren't giving me a good signal. Go ahead, take a guess. So we will clean that up and test again. The wondrous wire wheel on a drill press. That'll shine up just about anything, won't it? Reassemble. Alright, I gave the switch a bit of a reassembly and cleanup. I gave it a few persuasive taps in the right place, and that feels a bit better. Closed. Continuity. Nada. Position 1. Dash lights and tail lights. And parking lights, but no headlights. Position 2. Power is still a bit dirty there. I think I just need to clean the contacts. We got tail, dash lights, headlights, but no parking lights. That's odd. So are the parking lights literally just parking lights? They are only on when you are parked with the switch out just one step, not turning the headlights on, but just having parking lights on? Interesting. Got quite a bit done yesterday. The headlights and parking lights should function just fine. Still got turn signals over there to install. And now I need to... I'm gonna move on to some peripheral things. What's left of the harness truly is garbage. I just don't want any more grounding issues anywhere. I want to be able to forget to unplug the battery and not have it dead overnight. I guess next up is fuel gauge to the fuel sender, which is already kind of hacked up. I mean, good lord, look at that. Bare wire. Let's jump into that one. And here we have a new fuel cylinder line. Next. Well, shoot. Trying to get this guy up through here, but I'm starting to run into just too many restrictions in this area. Plus I've got the mystery button up here that does nothing. I get the feeling that this was someone's attempt at a horn button, I still got the heater switch down here. I've got to disconnect and find out where this bonus wire goes. But it's time to remove the heater. It's not hooked up at all. I've already halfway loosened up this bolt. I think it's just the 2 bolts that hold it on. One here at the firewall, one there under the dash here. I think this is actually an early style heater, but we'll find that out in a minute. That was a little more challenging than I expected. Check out the Dirt Dauber Hotel. It appears to be a pretty popular vacation spot for them. There's a pretty good lack of labels and such on this. I don't know if this is a 6 volt or 12 volt system. I would assume 6, but that part's unclear. This is a project for another day. I don't particularly have a need for a heater in Arkansas, other than maybe as a secondary emergency radiator. So we're gonna put this to the side for a while, and I'll come back and clean it up eventually. So much room for activities, hey. But before I get too far down the rabbit hole on just one more wire, here is the horn wire. I'd accidentally knocked it down pretty far in there. I don't believe this is original, but it's pretty well preserved, so I believe that I will probably just splice this back on and call it good. One thing I kept seeing but didn't quite understand though was on these later CJ2As, the wire comes out the bottom of the shaft, but I kept seeing reference to a brush of some kind, and now that I look under here, I think this is what it was referencing. There's a little removable plate here that I don't think I can get to. That was more for the early style. Is this an alternate place to hook up the horn? If it was hooked up? I don't know. Thought that might be useful to someone. Great, another thing has snowballed. Since I'm back there behind the dash, I have to pull the nut off the back of the ammeter to pull one crappy wire off. Then I might as well replace that short one that goes from the ammeter to the ignition. That's on the list. Wasn't priority, but it's there. Well, you guys, as the camera on a stick here, you get to see how much of a mess this is. Everything's bare. It's amazing this Jeep hasn't burnt down yet. And my task for the rest of this evening is to somehow get in here and replace most of this. I can't see what I'm talking about, but that's the plan. That was about half my afternoon just to get this. This is a bit of completely bare copper wire. It's obviously arced a few times somewhere. And this goes from the keyed ignition to the ammeter. Once upon a time, this was black with 2 stripes, looks like, according to the diagram over there. Alright, let's quickly make a new one of these. The smell of this heat shrink stuff just haunts your dreams, doesn't it? Hot. That ought to do. And finally, at least one other gauge is out. The fuel gauge. I don't know if that's normal function or not. It's never worked since I've had it. Of course, it hasn't been hooked up, so I guess I'll clean it up, put it back on, and see what happens. And this mess was going, this was signal power into the gas gauge. However, we weren't even hooked up. In fact, all this red stuff doesn't even matter. It still gets me wondering, was that a 6 volt or a 12 volt gas gauge? Given by the rust I just knocked off, it looked original. Don't know. Fortunately, I have a replacement gas gauge. I could put it in right now, or I could just wait and test the old one. Guess we'll test the old one after remaking this. Well, after 2 days of working on this thing almost solid, let's see if anything works. Gotta hook up the jump box to the battery. It's completely dead. All right, we've got some juice. Oh, we have life. Do we have a high beam telltale? That's high. Oh, it worked for a second. What did I? Ah, it's ground. Okay, I got a ground issue. Check it out. We got dash lights. We got a high beam telltale. The switch freaking works. Man, is that good to see. Man, I've got one of those way out of focus. Back to low beams. Yeah, one of them is still, I think it was this one I took apart and I messed it up, driver's side. And to the middle position, still got a dash light. Then we've got some amber parking lights. Oh, I may switch those into turn signals. I'm not sure yet. That's a victory, guys. Now, wiring is not 100%. We turn off lights and save some battery. So if you guys go upside down and swoop around, take a look around. It's a video, I have no idea what you can see. You're the camera on the stick, so but hopefully you got a good look at all that brand new wiring. There's only this one crappy wire left right here that is that factory 2-in-1. I've already remade a single. This one here splits off to the headlight switch, that's why the headlights work. And the other comes out into here somewhere. Of course you can't see, it's dark, but trust me, it goes somewhere to the alternator. So I think that's your 12 volts back from the ammeter, maybe. I don't know. Oh, and then I guess the last two, I've remade one of the two, but this horn, I guess this is my horn ground. It's a pain to get the wire out of the steering column. So I'm just gonna crimp on down to the good part of the green wire down there that someone already did relatively recently and replace this section. Now I'll have to figure that out because the horn itself is a 1-wire horn instead of a 2-wire horn. Hopefully soon I can tie this thing in correctly. That's kind of the crowning jewel, is to have a new working speedometer in here. I hate to lose the fact that this thing actually had 89,000 miles on it, but reset to 0. But I think that's it for this one, guys. Progress. Stuff works. Oh, that's just so cool. Thanks for watching. Thanks for bearing with me. This one was a crazy detour, but it had to be done. All that, it's no wonder I can't keep a battery charged in here. But thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.